Hello, good evening, welcome to UPfront. My name is Raymond Akwa. Today, and on 15th of May 1979, there was a mutiny among a section of the armed forces. The nation heaved a huge sigh of relief when this was put down. However, things took a dramatic turn when, at the trial of the mutinous soldiers, the director of public prosecutions at the time, George Akins, went out of his way to defend their conduct. He praised them as young men who, seeing the corruption going on in the society, tried to do something about it. On the 4th of June, some soldiers released those standing trial. Tonight, my guest saw it all with exactly, of course, next week on Thursday, and that's the announcement here. Next week on Thursday, December 12th, the very relevant scars of the revolution will be aired. Ahead of that, though, we want to know what really happened on June 4th and the events preceding that, the events after that, and how that shaped Ghana's history as to what we have today. One very competent man to help us do this conversation is the squadron commander at the Iraqi regiment at the time, Major Ibrahim Reda. You're welcome. I hope you are doing well this day.
I am, thank you, yes.
I want us to go back to the events of the 15th of May. So from where you sit, what really happened on 15th of May 1979?
15th of May, Jerry John Rawlings tried to stir up a mutiny. He started with capturing armored cars, Iraqi regiment armored cars that were on duty at the airport.
Okay.
Yes, 2 of them. He drove them into the barracks early in the morning and tried to gather support. There were even some officers who were doing physical training. He came around them and told them to join him, so they took off back to their quarters.
No, they didn't join.
No, they ran.
I see. Interesting.
They ran away. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, he tried to gather support. It didn't work out. At one point, he gathered some Air Force troops from the Air Force and brought them to the Iraqi regiment area to try and gather some following. There was a short exchange of fire there, and to make it short, he was finally arrested at the Air Force Station by Major Suleimana, who was the commanding officer of Iraqi regiment. Yeah. What has happened is that Rawlings had arrested some officers who were going to work, who were using the back pass. You know, there's a back pass behind the Air Force Station that comes from the airport. Oh yeah, some officers who were coming from the airport area would use that back pass to get into Burma camp. They were all arrested. Yeah, and sort of he held them hostage.
Okay.
So Major Suleimana went there and had him arrested.
Was this a plan towards so arresting military officers, taking over state vehicles of a sort? I mean, it's still a military vehicle. Was it geared towards some form of...
No, it was his own attempt to, as he said later, to stir up attention.
Oh, I see.
And when he was arrested, there was a speech that he had written. Yeah, a speech, and you couldn't make head or tail of it. But it was, as he said, it was meant to stir up the government's attention to the monopoly of foreign businesses in Ghana's trade.
Really?
That was what he said he was trying to do.
That the Ghanaian trade has been predominated by foreign
foreigners.
business.
Yes, by foreign businesses.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was his intention at the time. And when he appeared before the pre-trial investigation team, that's what he said. That he was trying to stir up government attention, you know, on this business monopoly by foreign traders.
His intent was not to remove the leadership of the government at the time?
No, that was not his intention.
At least what he professed.
What he professed. And also he professed that he was induced by marijuana.
Really?
Yes, he said he shouldn't be held responsible.
And there's record to support that?
Well, there must be, if the records are still there. The chairman of the...
So why did he say this?
At the investigation, for the investigation team,
So this was when he was arrested?
When he was arrested, he was taken in into military custody.
Okay.
And they set up a team. So he appeared before the team, and one of the things he said, because there was a colleague of mine who was on the team.
Oh, okay.
He had just passed away, Kenneth Barton. He was one of the members, and he told me exactly what happened.
Okay.
And that he pleaded that he was influenced by marijuana. He's taking a lot of marijuana, and he was influenced, and he shouldn't be held responsible, and he pleaded that he shouldn't be killed. A lot went on, you know, but basically it was to seek leniency. He didn't say he wasn't guilty. He just said he was induced by marijuana, and that was
so
his
he
intention.
probably was not in the right frame of mind.
Yes, that's what the impression he wanted to give, and that he wanted to raise government's attention to what was going on in the trade sector. So eventually they prepared him for trial. You know, that started. There's no linkage between what he did and June 4th directly.
Really?
No.
I see the record of the National Reconciliation Commission states that it was at his trial that the Director of Public Prosecutions decided rather to praise him and others rather than see them as people who had the intent to cause mayhem.
I don't know what was the intention of the public prosecutor, but here is somebody who has been appointed to carry out a duty by the government, and then you turn against the government. And it tells a lot about that man. I think later he was promoted to...
of course, he became Attorney General under the PNDC at the time, immediately after 81 actually.
Very interesting Attorney General he would be. Yes. So, as I'm saying, the only linkage came during the trial of Rawlings and his men, when he stood up and said that they should be left alone and he should take responsibility for them. It was a publicity stunt. You know, one time you are begging for mercy, and the other time you stand up as a hero.
But the pre-trial engagements were not public?
No, they were not public.
Oh, okay. So there's a difference. Of course, I mean, on the other hand, it was public.
Yes.
There are other people there.
The tribunal was public. There was a huge crowd. So it was the huge crowd that he played to.
Okay.
You know, and he was hailed as a hero and da. Around that time, the June 4th also was being planned by some soldiers and a few junior officers.
Oh, I see.
The irony of it is that when they are about to go to the broadcasting house, no officer would agree to go. From 5 battalion, no officer would agree to go.
When they needed somebody to make the announcement.
To make the announcement.
Because at the time, making the announcement really was the culminating point.
Was the key to the whole.
Yes.
And so they said, why don't we go and take Rawlings? He's already in prison, and he has nothing to lose. And that's when they took him to the broadcasting house, and he made that announcement, because he had already been exposed at the tribunal. He's already been exposed as a hero for standing up to his men. And said, let's use that opportunity. And that's what they did. They took him to the broadcasting house after releasing him from the BNI.
Washington endorses your point about May 15 being separate from June 4th.
Yes.
And that June 4th was separately planned.
Separately planned.
Not with any intention to do anything on May 15.
No, none at all.
That's what he says. I mean, the two events do not have anything in common.
They have no linkage whatsoever. I said the linkage came when they needed someone to go to broadcasting house, somebody who had already known, is become known.
Yeah.
So they used him. And he was taken to broadcasting house.
So June 4th happened before Rawlings was released from jail?
June 4th happened before Rawlings was released.
Okay.
On the 3rd of June, I had gone out. It was my birthday, so I was invited out by some friends. And I came back home just after midnight. Around 1 a.m. I started, some firing started at the 5th Battalion. There was some shooting, so I heard the fire. My commanding officer, Major Suleimana, called me on the phone and said, do I hear what is happening? I said, yes. He said he'll send an armored car to pick me up to the regiment. So an armored car came and picked me up. I'm sure it picked other officers.
Okay.
He gathered at the regiment. And then the shooting gathered, intensity.
Okay.
There was shooting, a lot of shooting in the air.
No, targeted at people, so they weren't killing anybody?
No, just shooting in the air. They were excited. They had decided that that's what they were going to do. It's a mutiny, so they started shooting in the air. Prior to that, there had been a lot of movement by some other ranks to spread the word around the other units. I remember
prior to June 4th?
Prior to June 4th.
Okay.
I remember very well that 7 soldiers were named as the ringleaders, and they were supposed to be arrested.
And this was still prior to June 4th?
Prior to June 4th.
And what had they done wrong? Were they the ones planning? Oh, okay, I see.
They were planning the June 4th, and the military intelligence had identified them as the ringleaders, and they were to be arrested. Somehow, they were not arrested.
Does the 7 include former President Rawlings?
No. He was already
okay,
in jail.
The May 15th incident had happened.
It had happened.
So
he was in custody.
How about Boachijan?
Boachijan must have been involved because he was one of the planners of June 4th.
Yeah.
Boachijan, Bachamfor, and 1 or 2 others, And it was initially concentrated around 5th Battalion.
Okay.
And then the news was spread, was sent to other units that this is what was going to happen. And it was passed on to the other ranks. So when they released Rawlings, they took him straight to the broadcasting house. When I was collected to go to the regiment, all the officers were around, Recce officers. So we set off the alarm, and the soldiers, Recce soldiers, started coming out of their quarters. They all reported to Recce regiment, and we brought the armored cars on the square, parade square. We got them ready for battle. We armed them and stood waiting for orders. I know very well that Major Suleimana tried to contact the brigade commander, Brigadier, I've now lost his name.
Okay.
Israel Amwa. Brigadier Israel Amwa. He tried so hard to contact him because he's the next commander. And he commands the Southern Brigade.
Okay.
He tried very, very hard to contact Brigadier Amwa for orders. What do we do? This is what is going on here. And Recce Regiment cannot get up on its own to attack another unit
without
direct orders. Orders came around 7:38 from the army commander himself. And Major Suleimana was able to contact the army commander after was not being able to contact the brigade commander.
Okay.
So the army commander said he needs to speak to the troops. So he needed access to the broadcasting house. So Major Suleimana selected me to take my troops and go and capture broadcasting house. At that time, broadcasting house has been taken over by 5 battalion troops.
No, I see.
Yeah, they had held the place up. So I went there, I must have got there between 8:30 and 9, drove them out of the place, took over the broadcasting house, and gave us
exchange of gunfire.
To tell you frankly, I don't remember them firing at us.
Oh, I see.
But we fired at them.
Okay, I see. But did people die in the process? Nobody died?
Nobody died. Okay. You know, I lined up our armored cars. There were about 6 or 7 armored cars. And I ordered that they should fire at the gate and at the wall.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because we couldn't see any of... We would never have fired at the troops anyway. We had no intention of killing anyone. We just wanted possession
of
the broadcasting house. Now, military orders to officers are very peculiar. If you are given a command to capture an area, do it the way you can.
Oh,
if you can do it without casualties, fine.
Okay.
If you have to cause casualties in order to achieve it, that is also fine.
But you have to achieve it.
But you have to achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
I captured it without any casualties. And I gave a signal. So I went to in there, and the Richard Cote was then on duty. So I went on the air and gave out my voice that I had captured the broadcasting house, that all the soldiers must go back to barracks. That was a signal to my CO that I have captured the broadcasting house.
So he can come in.
So he can come in. And not long after, about half an hour later, he came in with the army commander, Brigadier Major General Odati Wellington, and Rear Admiral Amadume.
Oh, okay.
And the first thing the general asked me was that, are there any casualties? I said, no, sir, no casualties. He said, good. He came, he prepared his broadcast. He gave his broadcast very calm, no anxiety, no worry. He gave a broadcast, and you have to respect him for a general in that situation, giving a broadcast so calmly. His intention was to calm everybody down. Okay. And I don't know whether you've heard the broadcast.
Yes, I've heard it. Actually, we've been playing it this week too.
Yes, you have. Very calm, very confident. And he said we should hold the place up. And then he left. He left with the Major Suleimana and Rear Admiral Amadume. I don't know where they went to. I suppose he may have gone to his office at Army headquarters. Then the shooting intensified in town.
Oh, I see.
There was a lot of shooting all over the place. And we received information that 5th Battalion were lobbing mortars into Recce Regiment. So I handed over the broadcasting house to another officer and told him that I have to go to, I'm taking some of my troops to Recce Regiment to find out what was going on there, so that we see if we could help evacuate the troops that were there. We had to go past around the airport on the motorway and come across, because the whole place was now choked with the infantry soldiers.
Oh, I see.
So we became the enemy.
Interesting.
All the battalions and all the units in Accra ganged up against us, against Recce Regiment, because now we become the enemy. After they had arrested their commanding officers, all the commanding officers in the infantry battalions, 5th Battalion, 1st Battalion, the battalion in Takrady, I suppose, and their commanding officers were arrested. Field Engineer Regiment, by the soldiers.
Okay.
You know, there's one thing that happened that people did not take peculiar notice of, was that when Rawlings went on the air, he was shouting that officers should not stand in the way of the junior ranks, because they have been oppressed for too long. You get the meaning?
Yes.
You, the officers, do not stand in the way of the other ranks. Let them do what they want to do.
So it's pitching against him.
Yes. Here is an officer pitching other ranks against his colleague officers. From that time on, we lost respect for him as an officer. He was no more an officer to us. No officer in his right mind would pitch soldiers against his colleagues. But that's what he did.
I said they were being oppressed, and they had been oppressed for too long.
He never explained.
He's speaking for the people.
Yes, but that is the kind of language he uses. Oppression, revolution. How do you look, in the armed forces, no officer can oppress another rank. It can never happen.
No, not possible.
It can never happen. Oops. If it happens, that officer will be sanctioned.
I see.
An officer cannot oppress a junior officer or an other rank for any reason whatsoever. There are procedures for dealing with cases of disobedience and insubordination and all that. The officer cannot by himself.
So what we hear outside that, I mean, the big boys can deal with the younger ones any way they want.
It's not true. It doesn't happen that way.
Okay.
It doesn't happen.
But oppression can be in different form. It could be that they deserve the amounts of money they're supposed to be given, they are not getting, and all the other things that
no,
they
but monies are not handled by officers. It's the government that determines the pay of the officers and other ranks. And we have the equivalent of the Ministry of Finance. We have the Paymaster General, who signs the checks to collect the pay of the other ranks from the banks, from Ghana Commercial Bank. The army does not hold money. The only monies that are held are in unit accounts, welfare accounts.
Okay, let's be clear on this. So if the oppression is not possible, if suppression of junior officers by senior officers is also not something that's feasible under the circumstance you find yourself, and if monies are not directly detailed or determined by the senior officers to the extent that they can use it against the junior officers, why do you think then Flight Lieutenant Rawlings was saying the things that he was saying?
Incite the soldiers against the officers. He wanted the soldiers on his side. Look, he started this business of getting soldiers on his side long, long ago. He would pretend to the soldiers that he's been marginalized by the army. You know, he once went on a course.
Okay.
On a course in Pakistan. And he was paid his full pay and allowance for, I think, 4 months. And when he went, the course did not come on. So what was he supposed to do? Bring back the money and give it back to the pay office. Instead, he took the money and went around Europe, gallivanting around Europe.
Okay, so he was paid for a specific cause. It didn't happen.
No.
And your systems would insist that he has to come back and return the money to the right office.
To the right office.
But he didn't do so.
No, he didn't do it. No.
That means he has to refund or something?
Yes, refund, and the army will. There's a way they get the refund from you. They make you pay for it.
Oh, I see.
So they deduct it from your salary over a period of time. That is administrative deductions. Now, he used that against the military, that he's been selected and he's being punished, he's being harassed.
But that was standard practice.
That's standard practice. That he's not being paid, he's being punished. But he never told the soldiers why they were deducting his pay.
So this issue to do with traveling and having to go on a course and the course not coming off was not explained to the people?
No, it was not. No, he told them that the military was punishing him.
And that's what he considered oppression?
Yeah.
I see.
For him, he was being oppressed. Why? They didn't ask them, why is it that you're the only officer in the whole armed forces that is being oppressed? No other officer stood up and said they were oppressed.
I see.
He had a problem. He had a problem with the officer corps.
But in fairness, though, I've spoken to Bachanfor.
Yes.
I've also heard from Major Bwachijan, who all say that the consistent role of the military in Ghanaian politics was becoming problematic, and that they felt there was a decay and a lot of corruption happening. And this is not Rawlings. I'm talking about Bachanfor and Major Bwachijan, all virtually saying the same thing, all saying that the cumulative effect of the actions on June 4th were because of these. Also saying that perhaps what Rawlings was referencing was bigger than just small oppression, that there was a lot of corruption happening and there's a lot of problem that was being created by the military's involvement in the governance of the state.
What problem? What did they say what problem it was?
And that the nation was heading the wrong direction.
Here they were
right
preparing to hand over. Here they were preparing to hand over to a civilian government.
Yeah, in a matter of months. Yeah.
Yes, elections had taken place, and they were preparing to hand over to a civilian government. And I know very well that the military had instituted, or they have published, assets declaration forms to be given to all officers that were involved in government. They were to fill those forms and hand them over to the incoming civilian government to deal with the situation. Corruption, every government, every military coup, the reason it's given is corruption, corruption, corruption.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a coverall accusation for everything.
A very generalized one.
Very generalized one. But it can never prove corruption. When they tried all those officers, what corruption did they find? Those who were really tried, what corruption did they find? The generals that they executed, were they tried to know whether there was corruption or not?
No, but former President Rawlings explains that there was a general appetite in the state for blood.
Who created
people
that
demanded that let the blood flow.
Which people?
The people of this republic, of course.
The people demanded.
Yes.
Since when have Ghanaians demanded the flow of blood in this country?
And that even within the military, there was a long list of people presented for execution. What we saw was a minimized version of what the intention was.
The intention was by some mad soldiers whose only aim is to shed people's blood. Now look at the way General Odati Wellington was executed. I use the word murdered. When we left the broadcasting house, we finally gathered at the police headquarters. General Odati Wellington came there with Major Suleimana, and he might have selected that place as his command post for that period. His aim, he never ordered us to go on the offensive.
You're not attacking people?
No, he said no. We do not want any bloodshed.
In hindsight, was that a bad decision?
It was a good decision. He is an army commander with members of his army sort of on both sides. Would he like his soldiers, his own soldiers, to murder themselves?
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, they are still soldiers.
Exactly. They are his own, it is in his own command. He said no. So he arranged to meet Rawlings and his people to sit down and see the way forward. He asked for a truce.
Did they turn up?
They didn't. Where were they? They couldn't even find them.
They got a message?
I don't know.
Okay.
They were nowhere to be found. Rawlings was hiding in the forest somewhere. Bachija was under his wife's bed or somewhere. They were nowhere to be found. General Odati Wellington wanted peace. He wanted to resolve the problem without any bloodshed. And here you have a bunch of idiots who wanted bloodshed. Did they understand what the bloodshed meant? As if they were going to slaughter chicken. Here your army commander tried as much as he done to prevent bloodshed. You are running around trying to, what? Kill other people?
So the police headquarters, how long did he stay there?
We were there for a few hours. We came there and he decided that he would try and meet with the so-called revolutionaries, the head of the mutineers. And he selected a place they should meet. And I remember very well that my commanding officer changed into mufti. He wore a pair of shorts and t-shirt so that he didn't stand out. And he was going to accompany General Odati Wellington to General Odati Wellington's father's house.
Okay.
I don't know where it is, Labadi somewhere, Osu. So that they would meet there with no troops whatsoever. Just a few of them, they would meet there and they would talk. That is the action of a general, not a riffraff holding a gun and firing in the air like, what do you call it, grazed with marijuana and alcohol. That's what they were doing. They were shooting in the air, hooting and screaming and harassing civilians. The civilians didn't know what was coming at them. Those who wanted bloodshed, they didn't know what was going to happen to them. And this story about the country wanting to shed blood, it's nonsense. It's nonsense.
So what was the mood of the people at the time?
Oh. How did he assess the mood? When did he know that the people were in that mood? When the general was executed, did they celebrate it? Did the people of Ghana celebrate that execution? Did they? So where was the mood? Where was the desire was with the people, the mutineers themselves. In order to save themselves, they had to get rid of that government.
I see.
And place themselves in government. And that's what they did. For me, when they talk about the mood, how do you measure the mood of a nation that they wanted blood to be shed? And then what happened? They turned on the civilians. The atrocities that were committed after June 4th, it's beyond imagination. The cruelty that was meted on Ghanaians. There was one case where they mixed gunpowder and pepper and douched a woman with it.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because they said she was holding flour. They douched the woman with gunpowder and pepper, and she lost her uterus. They made an old man eat human feces.
This happened in this country.
This happened in this country. Is that what the civilians wanted? And apart from the woman they stripped in the market and whipped in public, they whipped a woman, they opened her leg and whipped her over her private parts, so much so that she never recovered. That whole place was destroyed. Is that the mood? Is that what they wanted? Is that the blood they wanted to shed? Their own blood? These people were they were crazed with marijuana. When Odate Wellington was with us, he realized that the Air Force were threatening to bomb the police headquarters because of him.
Okay.
So he decided that he would leave us there, sort of to draw the attention away from him. And
to stop them from...
Exactly. Yeah. He chose to go to the Nima police station. And he selected to go in a small police armored car. Even volunteers still looked at, we'll take you. He said, no, I don't want you to be near me to attract attention. He was very disturbed, very, very disturbed. Very calm, but disturbed. When he got into the vehicle, he turned around and said, Rita, that's the end of the army. The army is finished. That's the end of the army.
That's what he said?
That's what he said. That were his last words to us. He got into the armored car with the ADC and his bodyguard. Went to Nima police station. When he was entering there, he was seen. So the people around stopped a military vehicle that was passing by, and in it were some Air Force soldiers. They told them there's a general in there. So as they got there, they just opened fire. They started shooting at the room he was in. And he raised his head to look at what was happening, and a bullet hit his head. He fell down. He told his ADC and his soldier to leave, because they were young, they should go away. But the ADC didn't go. When the soldiers entered, they said they should get him medical attention. He's dying. That is the way it's done.
Can I compel you to speak up a little bit? Yes.
I said that's the way it is done. They should have got him medical attention.
Okay,
point. But what did they do? They fired at his body. He is a general, and I'm talking about a soldier, a general of the army, lying there dying. Some alcohol-saturated mind took a machine gun and fired into his body. He fired so much he tore the flesh of his body. Is that the behavior of a normal human being? He was subhuman.
Of course, he has been shot, so...
He has been shot, he's dead. Yeah. Leave him. No, they kept firing into his dead body till he just split apart. They were virtually shredded. His body was shredded. And when you think about it, you can't understand what sort of mentality these people had. And these are the people who wanted blood to be shed. These are the people who pushed for the generals to be executed. And they wanted more people to be executed. At whose request? The people of Ghana? I don't think so. I don't think the people of Ghana wanted that. After the event, they can say whatever they want to say. And I still look back and say, are they normal? Are they still mentally normal? How do they feel now after what they've done? What have they achieved? What legacy did they leave behind? Look at what has happened. Now, on the way to Broadcasting House, which I never tell you, you know Nicholson Stadium?
Yeah.
I was passing by Nicholson Stadium on the way out of Burma camp. There were two officers distributing weapons to the soldiers.
Wow.
Anybody was given a weapon, whether
Like
a
that.
driver, a cook, a soldier, people were just giving weapons. Men were giving weapons. In the army, not every soldier is meant to carry a weapon. So there are some, you have cooks, you have tailors, you have mechanics. They all have their trades. Their trade is not fighting. They gave weapons to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Everybody who came was given a weapon with ammunition. And they were let loose.
I see. So that can account for how these things might have been misused and what is currently termed excesses.
That was the cause of the excesses. People started even settling personal scores. If you have somebody you dislike, you go to his house and go and harass him, kill him, beat him up, or do whatever you want to do with him.
Because law and order has broken down.
There was no law and order. They had absolutely no control. They have let loose the soldiers. Officers must stand aside and let the soldiers have their way. And not all the soldiers liked it. A lot of the senior officers, senior NCOs were, I'll use the word frightened. They themselves were frightened because they couldn't even stop the soldiers.
I see.
Privates,
of course, I mean, they are now in charge.
They are now in charge. They've been given, it's your coup. You're in charge. And that's what Rawlings thrives in, chaos. He thrives in chaotic situations. And he had the chaos.
Did he try stopping these people from misusing the power they've been given?
No, they never did. They never did. How could they? It's easy to come and scream platitudes and scream revolutionary talk, blah, 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 and then you give them power and they're out into the field and they are testing power for the first time. A soldier is free, like the cats have gone, so the mice can now play. And they're let loose into society. And they start harassing innocent people. They start harassing innocent people.
In your case, what happened after the death of Major General Wellington?
So what happened was that when he left, we knew he was gone to the Nima police station. Therefore, we considered that probably he was safe. We heard nothing from him or about him for some time. So we decided to go to brigade headquarters to get authority for more ammunition because we were running out of ammunition. So Major Sulemana led us to brigade headquarters. He went to see the brigade commander. To our utter surprise, the brigade commander was in civilian clothes, sitting in his reception.
He had left office? Or?
He had left his office and he's sitting in his visitor's room.
I see.
In civilian clothes at the time of such conflict. So Major Sulemana had the cheat for request for ammunition. He refused to sign it.
Really?
Yeah, he refused. He said he would not sign it. And why would you not sign it? He said, oh, but they've arrested some of our officers, and if I give you ammunition and you go to fight and they kill our officers. Mr. Sulaiman was angry. He took his gun. He was going to shoot him.
Okay.
He said, what do you do in times of war? If your officers are captured, do you stop fighting? He nearly shot him.
Wow.
So I had to hold him back. I said, don't. Then he said he is not going to surrender. Then we heard General Hamidu ordering us to surrender. We heard there were some radios around, so we heard ordering us to surrender. We never heard his voice. Throughout the whole day, the voice of the CDS was never heard. We didn't even know whether General Odati Wellington was in communication with the CDS. He would have told us if he was. He wasn't. So where was he? He was also hiding. The other service commanders were not seen. They didn't know where they were. So there was complete chaos. The command was not cohesive. It was only General Odati Wellington who had stood his ground, put on his uniform, and came there to take command of whatever troops that were available to him. The other commanders, we don't know where they were. We don't know where the CDS was. The first we heard his voice was that telling us to surrender. We should surrender. It was mind-boggling, you know. Surrender to who? Surrender to these people who probably end up killing us. So we lined up the vehicles in front of the brigade headquarters. And there were some young officers there. I knew very well Captain Koda and Captain Okaikwe.
Okay.
They had come there because they have given an edict that only majors and above were to be arrested.
Oh, okay.
So the rest, junior ranks, they were the good people. You know, they were the friendly forces. So we told them to go and tell Rawlings and the others to send officers, and we'll surrender to officers. We'll not surrender to the other ranks. An hour later, we saw a convoy of trucks coming up brigade to have us arrested. Okay, we just surrendered, and we were taken to various places. I was taken to Signal Regiment guard room that day. You know.
What happened there when you were arrested?
When I was arrested, I was taken into the guard room. It was full of officers, SMC members,
okay,
NLC members. They had all been rounded up. Some have surrendered themselves and have reported as they were requested. And then I remember around 5 o'clock, they found out that I was there.
Oh, I see.
So they came, they had set up a firing squad. They should bring me out so that they can kill me.
Really?
Because of the broadcast I made.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I gave my name, and so they wanted to arrest me. Fortunately for me, whatever it is, there was a heavy downpour of rain. The rain, it poured so heavily, so they all scattered and went away to their various places.
So that's why, and that's how come you were not executed?
That was why I was not executed.
The rain stopped your execution?
The rain stopped it. The rain stopped it. The next day when they came, the guard commander was there, was one Sergeant Bauer. He refused to let them take me out. They came again.
Okay.
Said no way, unless they have written orders from the AFRC. That's the second day the AFRC was set up.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so some order was beginning to take place. But you ask yourself, what was it all about? What was it all about? Here is a government that had ruled for how much? 7 years. Did they kill anyone? Did they maim anyone? You come in a few days, look at the havoc you created in the nation. And you call yourself fit to rule?
Your men, were any of them attacked, the ones who were with you? The ones who
What
were
happened
arrested?
was that, no, they were not. But during the course of June 4th, we had an armored ambulance.
Okay.
The ambulance was stopped, and the men, 2 men in it, were taken out and shot.
Oh.
In cold blood, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they attacking people?
No, ambulance. An ambulance. We sent an ambulance around to pick injured soldiers to 37.
Yeah. And it was those who are providing medical care?
Yes.
Who were the ones
They
shot?
were taken out and shot in cold blood. They were not armed. That was the mentality there. Colonel Enifo, who was the chairman of the tribunal, first thing in the morning, they went to his house. He was sitting at his breakfast table with his wife. They shot him and his wife.
The two together?
The two together, in cold blood. Just shot them, pow, pow, and left them and went away.
So what job was the tribunal doing?
The tribunal were trying Rawlings and his people. You know, a military tribunal was set.
Yeah. Oh, okay, wonderful.
He was the president of the tribunal. The tribunal that Akins showed his character.
Yeah.
And this was a lawmaker.
Yeah. And they went to shoot the chairman of the tribunal without any trial?
What trial? No, it wasn't any trial. The man was having breakfast. He didn't even know what was going on outside. First thing in the morning, he was probably getting ready to go to the tribunal. He was shot with his wife at the breakfast table.
That must be very terrible.
Terrible is an understatement. It's an understatement.
So, at what point in time were you let go? Were you made a free man?
I was made a free man during the time they started taking away the members of the government, the NLC, the SMC. They took them away. And they took away officers who had served in government.
Okay.
We, the officers who went with our regiment who resisted, were separated from them. And then the officers who had served in government were selected to go and face the pre-trial committee, the PIT.
Okay.
The pre-investigation team. Now the PIT was to prepare the officers who were brought before them to go to trial. My brother, here you take a colonel, an elderly colonel who have served in the armed forces probably 40 years. You sit him before this pit where 3 officers are sitting there. And you're investigating the colonel, and behind him there's a soldier who is slapping him left and right. Yeah, slapping him left and right.
A colonel?
A colonel.
I see.
And other senior officers came through this pre-trial, whatever, this pit.
So that was the pre-trial, kind of pre-trial?
Pre-trial. They were preparing them to face another court.
And that required some form of attack on you?
They'll ask you questions. And if you don't answer quickly, you get a slap from behind your back. If you give an answer they didn't like, they'll slap you.
And these slaps were done by junior officers?
By soldiers. Hefty soldiers they have selected. And I can tell you some of their names, Captain Koda and Captain Okakwe, who was standing to become an MP, was a member of that pit. And Captain Koda is now with the government. With Akufo-Addo's office, he's there. Captain Koda is there, a security advisor.
Currently?
Currently.
I see.
This man of no honor. Useless men of no honor. Officers who showed no respect to their senior officers. They treated them like dead. Like You know, I can't even describe it. These two officers wanted to be in government. One of them is in government now.
Now, I've gone through the report of the NRC, the National Reconciliation Commission. It singles you out for praise and commendation and some form of recognition. Was that done?
No, not myself alone.
Yes, I mean, there are other people, I know.
Other people, General Wellington, Major Sita,
very much
Major
so.
Suleimana.
But because
nothing was done.
I have you before me.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw your name, and I take that because I wanted to ask you this question.
No.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all was done.
Since the National Reconciliation Commission finished this work?
Nothing was done.
Nobody reached out to you?
No, nobody reached out to me.
Does that surprise you?
It didn't surprise me because I saw this whole NRC what should I call it, a useless exercise.
How so? I mean,
because look,
Truth and Reconciliation commissions have been used to reconcile people in states for a very long time. The South African experience, the Rwanda one.
They were afraid to confront Rawlings. They felt they would offend Rawlings. I'm telling you, the whole issue is about them fear of Rawlings.
Really?
Yes, up to today. Has Rawlings been called and asked, have you read the NRC report?
Yes.
You know the people who were killed during Rawlings' rule in the PNDC?
Yes, very much so. He was called and asked for a tape.
Has anybody asked him? Has anybody questioned Rawlings?
That's not what he was questioned on. He was questioned about the presence of the tape of Amatekwe's confession. That's what he was asked.
Is that all? Is that all that was there?
That was the main query before him that day.
Yes.
Because that's why they subpoenaed him anyway.
Is that what was important to them? The death of Amatekwe, who caused the death of the judges? Mm-hmm. What about the death of the hundreds of Ghanaians who suffered during that time?
Are you disappointed in the work of the NRC?
I'm disappointed not in the work of the NRC, in the work of the governments who are supposed to implement the report of the NRC. The white paper, where's the white paper? The NRC report even disappeared. It took us so long.
I struggled to find one, actually. I understand that.
Esther Odate Wellington was the one who was able to trace the NRC report. And she's still looking for the white paper. The whole government, the whole organizations don't have one copy of the white paper. Where is it?
I've asked the Attorney General's department. I couldn't get one myself. But unfortunately, they told my time is up. I hope we can continue this conversation someday. But Major Ibrahim Rida, many thanks to you for joining us.
Let me give you my last word.
Very much so.
Somehow I feel disappointed in being a Ghanaian.
Really?
All that has happened. Nobody's been able to raise their voice and ask, why did this happen? What are we doing to those that made it happen? All these people that were they killed for nothing? Why? Why are Ghanaians so cowardly? Why the people who caused it are among us? They are being honored, they are being feted, they are being treated like statesmen, heroes. Look at the Ghanaians who's lost their lives during the PNDC and the FRC time. We're behaving as if nothing's happened, like ostriches. We're putting our heads, not being able to acknowledge even that this has happened and this has happened and this has happened. But they are not heroes among us. They're living among us as heroes.
Forgive me, I have to go. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Well, folks, that's where we end today's edition of UPfront. Many thanks to you for joining us on this one.